Thank you all for joining me today and tuning in to today's latest episode about resilience. Usually, the titles of the episode give you a preview of what's to come in the conversation that we're about to have. This one is in that same vein of thought and observation about what peace feels like. You probably have heard, as many of us have had the opportunity to hear about, when people or things disturb the peace. That was one of the common, offenses you could make against the police or under the police's understanding, leadership, and to serve and protect. When you're disturbing the peace, you would get in trouble for that, and the police would come and address your issue or address you as the issue. But the question still is what peace feels like, and more importantly for me, what it looks like, what it sounds like. Now, this topic came from driving down not a highway, it's like a back road, and a small church had a banner on its awning, and it kind of made me literally stop the car and look at that. And the question was, how does peace feel? So that's what generated this conversation today from that church banner. But to me, what peace feels like, I guess you could equate it to like a good death. I know. We'll get to that in a second. Just hold that thought for a second. We'll get to it. But just as a placeholder, if you get a chance to look at or listen to other episodes, you will find and hear where I've cited and referenced the Stoic memento mori saying, which means remember you must die. Just keep that as a placeholder in this discussion today. So maybe the question about what peace feels like could be an indication or the absence of what you don't need now. That is, if the question about what peace feels like, it should, I suggest, push you or nudge you into thinking about observing an absence of what you don't need. Like, for example, what you don't need right now is self-destruction, meaning a war with yourself, anger, evil percolating inside of you for some reason. Something offends your ego or your fears, and that brings up this anger and evil. But maybe you need a good dose of unity, a good dose of music, collaboration, maybe even resilience. And then you can maybe, as you strip away the coverings and the cloudiness and the distractions from your day, maybe then you can discern or start to feel and sense peace and an afterglow of a genuinely shared love with yourself, with your creator, and then with another person. Maybe it comes about from a post-traumatic event. Although we not recommend that for anyone to have to go through that to get to this peace plateau. But how do you get there? You get there going through things like that. No, I wouldn't recommend additional stress or anything trauma heavy, but you need the resilience to go through that. As a tangential observation, maybe you can consider peace and love that insist and exist together, both as aspects, as descriptions of our core essences. Just listen intently. Peace and love and joy without competing noise or distraction. Resilience, perhaps you can sense that from your own heartbeat in your chest, away from the external and the city noise, and also the internal city noise and distraction inside of you. In doing that, you can start to reduce those external senses or being led by external stimulation or overstimulation. In some ways, I might be saying, and it didn't sound proper when I'm asking you to restrict your senses. But maybe to get to this question about what peace feels like, maybe just as an exercise, as a feeling, not necessarily in practice. In reality, but maybe in practice in your own little meditation sessions or by yourself or a hilltop somewhere or in your car when you've parked in your destination journey. Maybe you can consider as a practice to restrict your senses. Maybe with something as simple as elementary as headphones, an eye mask, earplugs, and a napkin if you have limited funds. Global peace cannot occur before we have personal peace. And get naked too on this. I'm not being funny, but get naked with that. Can you be at peace with that? And the uncovering, discovering, and recovering of yourself. And finding that space. And being somewhat dependent on that frequency. Not the external frequency, the internal frequency I keep mentioning about that heartbeat. And that's where you can find that connection to your own frequency. Now, you don't own that frequency. It's being allowed for you to experience and then to tap into. Where you want to be in line, in concert with that frequency, with that beat, with that sound. In consonant and not dissonant. In doing that, I am suggesting that is an opportunity, a practice, and maybe then moving into reality, into actually prime time live experiences to recenter and ground yourself in what peace feels like. Maybe reducing the things that you don't need right now. Think about that. Live currently, live presently, and in the now. Until next time, we have an opportunity to share this energy, this peace, this love, this joy. Stay safe. And wherever you are in this world, please tell someone. You know what time it is? It is always